Hi, my name is Bruce Wood. I'm art auctioneer at Woodshed Art Auctions in Franklin, Mass. Many people know me as an art auctioneer, but they don't realize that my auction business all started because I'm also a conservator of fine art. I specialize in conserving paintings, mostly 19th and 20th century paintings. I take that field very seriously. I'm a member of the International Institute for Conservation of Historic and Artistic Works based in London. It's an organization of international professionals in the conservation field. Now, beyond that, I've got a little bit of a background in art. I have a master's degree from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, which is one of the finest art colleges in the United States. And my bachelor's degree is from Massachusetts College of Art, which in itself is a rather prestigious organization. I used to be part of the art history department at the School of the Art Institute. They hired me after I graduated. And I continued with postgraduate studies in Latin American and Asian art. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because I want to tell you about attributions. You might be wondering why paintings or works of art in general might be listed as attributed to an artist. What it means is that someone has given an opinion that that artist may have actually created the artwork in question. Anybody can give an opinion. Anyone can give an attribution. But very few people actually put study and knowledgeable study into giving an attribution. That's where I come in. That's exactly what I do as an auctioneer. When pieces come into me, to the auction house, the owners might say, oh, I have a painting by, let's say, X artist. And that person believes that it's by X artist, and to them, that is an attribution. They have attributed it to that artist. But honestly, if they don't have documentation from actually the creation of that art and it's being sold in an art gallery, or a receipt from the artist when the original painting or work of art was sold to whomever owned it, and then another receipt from whoever sold it to the next person and the next person and so on, which is, they call all that stuff provenance. If the provenance is missing, as it is in so many works of art, what they're left with is an attribution, not a guarantee. So, as you know, opinions are not guarantees. Opinions are a guide saying that something is most likely by a particular artist. Now, when a piece comes to me and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, is this really by artist X? I have to look at it and decide, well, are the materials right? If this piece is supposed to be 50 years old or 100 years old, does the paint or the paper or the canvas or whatever look like it's that age? I've had a lot of experience looking at things, and my experience as a conservator really helps me determine the materials that are involved in a work of art. I've been exposed to so many different ways that artists work that sometimes I can look at it and decide if things are right with that piece based on the way the paint has been applied to it. If I'm not familiar with an artist's work, then I have to hit the books. Sometimes it's books that I have here. Sometimes it's just going on the internet, because that's pretty easy to do some research on the internet and get comparables, look at them that way. I subscribe to a few different websites which show me artists' signatures, so I can base my opinion of the artist's signature on the ones that are listed online to see if mine matches up perfectly, or if it's a possible variation on a theme. You know, artists don't sign their work the same way every time. I mean, very few people are that mechanical in general. And some artists have widely varying signatures depending on the course of their life, or maybe just because they don't care. They're kind of freewheeling with it. So it's my job there to determine, well, okay, is the signature on the piece that just came in really, does it look like the rest, like it belongs with the rest of them out there that I can see? And then, does the style of the work look like it is possibly by this artist? Now, sometimes the answer is no. And in that case, I do not give an attribution. What I do is list a piece as after an artist, or school of an artist, or influenced by that artist. And I can't exactly say that it's attributed to that artist because I don't believe it. Now, when you see these attributions, keep in mind, there is no documentation on these pieces, or we wouldn't have to attribute it. If you're the kind of person who needs hard and fast documentation, if you need to be assured that everything that you're purchasing is 100% guaranteed, do not bid on anything that is attributed. But if I can change your mind about things a little bit here, also keep in mind that in the history of the world, everyone has not kept every receipt that was ever made. Oral histories in families change the attribution of things all the time. People bring in paintings to me as a conservator and they'll say, my great-grandfather painted this painting. His name was Dominic. Okay, great. So they're completely convinced that Dominic painted the painting. And then, at least in one case, I was working on a painting and it was signed by someone named Vincent. So I had to say, I don't think Dominic did this, and that changed the family history. It changed the attribution of the work. It wasn't exactly Dominic who made it, it was another relative named Vincent, and they kind of knew who that person was too. But you see how things change over time. There was no documentation, nothing was ever written down about that particular piece. But that little story shows you how things happen. Most people, when they buy a work of art, might consider saving the receipts. But often those receipts get lost in moving. They get misplaced. The painting's on the wall and the receipt's somewhere else. People come to me, they've inherited artworks, and they'll say, this is definitely a painting by X, and it's signed by X, and it looks like an X, and I believe it, and I have to attribute it because they lost the paperwork. When going through the estate, they couldn't find any receipts that Uncle Charlie kept. This happens over and over. Other artworks are gifts from artists to different people, and of course there's no paperwork when it's a gift like that. So there's no way to prove anything other than with an oral history of where that work came from. So this creates an oral history type provenance, if the provenance is even remembered, and we have to give an attribution of that work. So that's what attribution is all about. Attribution is given by someone as an opinion, not as a guarantee. It doesn't mean that someone else won't come in later on with another opinion. The world of opinions and the world of art is fraught with arguments and debates over these things. The art world has many, many shades of gray in this area. But I just want you to know that at least in our auctions, I do look at things. I do tend to think I know what I'm looking at, and if I don't know, I study so that I can be more knowledgeable about what I'm selling. And very often I do rely on experts, other experts, to tell me their opinions in order to come up with attributions. Now that you know what attribution is all about, I hope you'll be able to look at works and consider what the history of that work might be. And also consider, should there be hard and fast documentation on a piece? Why perhaps isn't there? And is the attribution that the piece has coming from someone who knows what they're talking about? Either way, if the answers to all of that is yes, there's still no guarantees. So there you go. That's what attribution's all about. It's a guideline. So good luck. Please do a little of your own studying, make yourself more knowledgeable, and educate yourself about art as much as possible. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful.